Welcome to the Wisdom to Wealth Kingdom podcast. Thank you all for joining us again today. This is the podcast where we meet with the wealthiest business owners in the world. They're sharing their journey from zero to wealth to help inspire you, especially those of you who are looking to build generational wealth, leave a financial legacy for your family. I'm your host. I'm Shamar Star Cox, TV producer and content coach. My goal is to help you create binge-worthy content that increases your reach, leads, and your sales. So if you're a six-figure business owner and you're looking to learn how to create content that sells, we also have a 5-day challenge. It's called Convert Content to Cash, where we'll show you how to create content in a way that creates deep connections with your audience. You can be authentic on camera, and then you don't have to feel so icky when you are selling. If you want to get access to the challenge, feel free to comment challenge accepted, and I'll personally send you a DM on Instagram. Today, we have the wonderful guest, Brad Berger, who is an author, speaker, and coach who has more than 3 decades of coaching and is a certified financial planner. While developing a 17-year career as the director of advisor operations, Brad recognized that he wasn't living the advice he routinely gave to both his clients and advisors to maintain a balanced and high quality life. And I'm pretty sure Brad is not the only one. There's a lot of us where we are serving our clients, we are helping our clients, but we are doing the opposite of what we're telling them to do because sometimes we can get caught up in the rush. And so because of that, in 2008, Brad decided to return to a private practice in order to spend more time with his family and his community. He founded a holistically aligned financial planning firm that integrates both behavioral advice and life coaching. Also, he's the author of Stop Trying to Keep Up with the Joneses. They're broke anyway. I love the title of that book. Brad, thank you so much for being our guest today. Welcome.
You're welcome. I was, since you brought that up, Star, if you don't mind, when I went to the publisher with the book, and we were having a conversation, I had already created the title. And before the meeting, I mean, within the first 5 minutes of the meeting, the question they asked was, we're not sure about the title. Could we change that? And I said, that's a non-negotiable. And it's kind of interesting because every time I have a conversation with anybody about the book, one of the things that they comment about is the title.
Yeah, that title's amazing. The reason why I resonate with it so much is because me and my sister, we talk about it all the time. She's like, yeah, people are always trying to keep up with the Joneses, but they don't know that I'm the Joneses. And she lives a very low-key lifestyle. She's not overspending or anything like that. And she's able to enjoy her finances and her riches. So that's why I really love that title.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's get into your journey. I want you to take us through where you started to where you are now. I know you had built a business before, and you're building a second business. So walk us through your journey and any hurdles you had to overcome.
Yeah, so I'm probably technically on my third, full business. Interestingly enough, my personal journey began with an introduction to the company that I ended up working for after I left the Army. So I was a commissioned Army officer in my very early days of my life. And once I fulfilled my commitment, I was really looking for another opportunity. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was finances and money and things around that particular subject. In fact, when I was in the military, a lot of people came to me for financial advice because I had started my own financial plan with my second paycheck in the Army. Started investing and saving, and I had a comprehensive financial plan that was created for me. And I was also a volunteer tax preparer. So that was one of the things. And a lot of people would come to me with regard to that. Big advocate of my license plate, which says pay yourself first, which is before, after you make your contributions to charity, church, etc., is you should be next on your payroll. And your future should be next before anything else gets paid. And so when I decided to leave the military, I went to this organization who largely only employed retired military officers and a few retired senior non-commissioned officers. And there were probably only 2 or 3 other what we used to call quitters that worked for the company. And I think they were a little skeptical. They were a little skeptical about whether or not they could plot me down in pretty much the middle of nowhere. I started at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, St. Robert, Waynesville, Missouri. And could I really make a go of this particular business? And because I had saved money and invested and prepared for this transition, they gave me a shot. And I also did what they thought was impossible, which was to help brand new commissioned officers who were just arriving for their initial training, as well as just slightly more senior officers who were returning for some advanced training about 3 years in the military, and help them create their financial plans and be wildly successful at doing that. And so that's how it began for me. And I will share with you that I had some amazing early success following some early failures.
Wow.
Right. A story I could tell about that, but pulled myself up by my bootstraps, knew that really success was the only option for me. There's a part of me that loves to prove the doubters wrong. And that tends to really drive my serve as the driver for me when I'm really taking on any task. So had a fantastic, very successful, lots of awards and accolades as an advisor for this company. Was given the opportunity fairly early on to move into a leadership role. Moved across the country to the West Coast, where my very first group of individuals, a little daunting because they were all retired lieutenant colonels and colonels. So I had 6 advisors working for me, all with significantly greater amount of life experience, certainly significantly more military experience than I had. But what I brought to the table was business success. And they were trying to build business success. And I was able to use my skill set, my tools, my leadership capabilities, learning about personalities and personality profiles to really build an amazing team. That went well, moved on to a bigger district, one of the number one districts in the entire company, moved up through the chain, and ultimately became what they call the director of advisor operations. The issue was I love the people in the company. Massive amounts of integrity, just the most value oriented and well spirited individuals you could ever possibly want to work for. But corporately, I just felt that the company wasn't going in the proper direction. One of the things that I tend to, at least in my past 33 years in the financial services industry, has been very keen on discovering where the famous Wayne Gretzky quote, which is, "I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where the puck is going." I think it's really important in business to be looking at where will my industry be in 3, 5, and 10 years from now. And what I need to do is I need to start building my business on that future, not what's happening today, what's going to happen in the future. Because if you're always focused on today, you're going to get left behind. And I'm sure you'll have some other questions about that. But basically what I decided was that I just could not spend the rest of my career there. And I really needed to go out on my own. And you read in my bio that what I ended up doing was going and creating my own comprehensive financial planning firm that was values-based and that was really a departure from what most people's experience with financial services is, which is what I call wealth management. An important component of financial planning, but just one component. And unfortunately, a lot of the industry, I'm just going to guess that it's greater than 70%, and I may be underestimating it, is just focused on managing money. And a much smaller percentage of the industry is focused on truly creating a comprehensive financial plan that's aligned to your values and your goals.
Yeah. I
So
love this. This is
yeah,
great.
and then what ended up happening, and I may be getting ahead of myself, but what I came as I started to create
Mhm.
this new methodology and this new process that we were delivering these services aligned with our value proposition. I discovered that once people had gained the confidence that they were on track to achieve their financial goals, a massive weight, number one, was lifted from their shoulders. That's the first thing. And then the second thing that ended up happening is this immediate shift to, I was no longer really a financial planner,
Mhm.
but I was a life coach who happened to specialize in money,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And so they were immediately um, asking the questions like, what's next? What do I do? And that was my realization that there was this very small segment, very small, still today, of the financial planning community that believes in life coaching. And I wanted to bring that front and center.
Mhm.
And so there are always challenges when you're dealing with regulators who don't understand things that are, new or odd, or no, we've done this way for the past 80 years. What are you doing introducing these new concepts? But I wanted to introduce those. And what I found was it became the unique element of who we were. And so oftentimes what people who would refer, and then we built this business entirely by referral, no outside marketing. It was all word of mouth, subject matter experts, centers of influence, and very satisfied clients. Was how much they remarked about, yeah, they'll handle your money, but they'll also help you live your life. They'll help you live a bigger, greater, or what we used to call ideal life than you would have ever imagined. And so that's that confluence of that. And then what ended up happening is I decided, after 33 years of doing that, and also having built a successful coaching business, was I was going to go chase my original boyhood dream of 9 years old, which was to fly professionally. I've been flying since I was 16. So that's what I do now. So I fly professionally part-time. And then when I'm not flying, I coach.
I love it. I absolutely love this. Now, there's something you said very early on, which was when you first started, you had a lot of success, but then you also experienced failure. Can you walk us through what that failure was like? And if
Yeah.
you have any type of limiting beliefs that kind of hindered you from getting to the next success level?
Yeah. So again, one of the things that I'm going to share with you is I would not necessarily choose to build a business this way today.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
But back in the day, that company was very well known for seminars, and in particular, dinner seminars. But one of the things that we also did a little bit of a change up, and we did some brunch seminars.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And I remember being in an office. So this was, you were an independent contractor, not a franchisee, just an independent contractor. So you were responsible for your office rent, your staff,
Mhm.
all of the overhead. I don't know if people have fax machines anymore. Fax machines, right?
I
Um,
should have one. It's a
all,
tiny one printer.
all of the gear that you needed, right? Computers and printers and copiers and all of that sort of stuff. I was responsible 100% of that, whether I made a sale or not. And I had an office mate who was, he was in a way a competitor and in a way a mentor,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
So I remember that I worked really, really hard, right, to put together this brunch seminar. And we had great attendance. I mean, I worked my butt off to get, butts in the seat,
mhm.
to hear this message from a professional seminar speaker on financial planning. And we decided basically that we would split the names. That's, for good or bad. I was trying to be a good team player. We decided to split the names. I didn't get a single appointment
Mm.
at, and it was traditional that at the end of the seminar, our assistants were there. We would take an appointment and we would schedule that. I didn't get a single appointment.
Mm.
And my colleague, of which, of course, I had basically given him half the names, scheduled, 6, 8
Wow.
appointments
Wow.
out of that. And I will tell you, I went home pretty deflated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Given the work. But, I decided to pull myself up like many times in the past by my bootstraps, not really let that, be a defeat. And I called all of my guests.
Yeah.
I scheduled 100% of them.
Wow.
And they all came in for the next level. And I don't remember what my quote close rate was on that, on how many of those individuals became clients. But I would say that it was in excess of 80%.
I love it.
So, it's one of those things. And it's really like, just don't let one thing. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about this. And for example, my positive intelligence program that I'm a coach on, but it somehow, not perfect, but I had an innate sense of mindset that allowed me to do that, and just kind of get up. And I think probably it came from a lot of my military training, where I was a kind of a special operator, and part of what they do in training you in that is to kind of break you down before they build you up. And I think I probably had some instincts from that training that basically said, okay, when you're beaten down, that's just part of the process to build you up to be even greater. And just having that mindset around that, I think is incredibly powerful.
I really love this piece, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs, especially those of you who are listening, if you can relate, where you have implemented something, you've tried to sell your product, you've tried to sell your service, and you've just received rejection after rejection after rejection. And it may make you feel like, man, I should just give up because it's just not working. But for Brad, like, you were able to, okay, you know what? That day I didn't get anyone who signed up, but then you decided to implement, I'm going to reach out to each one of them. Something inside of you said, it's not over yet, right? And so you just brought up positive intelligence. What is one thing that you talk to your clients about when it comes to positive intelligence that helps them to keep going even when they feel deflated?
Yeah, so I will share with you that the program Positive Intelligence, which I'm a coach of, it's not my own creation, but it is an amazing program. And it really has to do with creating the possible mindset. And what it really has to do is with what we call mental fitness. Without going into a lot of jargon associated with the program, the best way that I have to describe it is we all have experienced negative self-talk, right? That voice in our head that basically says, you can't do this, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, however that shows up in your particular life, it's that negative self-talk, that nagging, a voice in your head that says, just give up, don't do it, forget it, you can't make it happen. That comes from a part of our brain, right, that is largely driven by our fight or flight mechanism, our natural defense mechanism to survive. But the Positive Intelligence program, essentially what it does is it allows you, through what we call mental fitness, to through a structured program, which is just amazingly powerful, is to not only recognize when that happens, but to understand where that comes from, what the impact is, how to recognize that, and how to essentially diminish it. We refer to these types of voices in our head, and we can classify them because they as saboteurs, right? And then we have our sage brain, which is our wiser elder self, right? That can look back, who's far more rational, who understands that that's not really true. This is a made up sort of thing. And so one of the things that we do through a series of exercises and exposure to the understanding of how we're wired with regard to it. And this is all based upon a significant amount of scientific validated research on how we operate as human beings. And what it does is it really offers the opportunity to quiet the saboteurs, diminish, right, the negative self-talk, and increase our SAGE capability. For me, what it has done, I still have my moments, right? we all do.
Yeah.
But what I find is what I've done is I've significantly reduced the amount of time that it takes me, one, to recognize and to overcome and to move into a more positive framework. And that in and of itself is probably one of the most powerful things that program can do. And it's amazing what you can do in a very short 8-week period of time.
Yeah, I love that. And so with positive intelligence, how often in a day, how often are you seeing yourself shift quickly from the saboteur mindset to the sage mindset?
Well, I have some help because I do daily exercises,
Okay.
just like I do physical fitness exercises, and I try to eat healthy and I do all those sorts of things. One of the things that Positive Intelligence has is an app, and it starts with a kind of a daily focus, right? Which is, here's kind of the things to watch for in your day. And I think that there's a great reminder. There's a concept that I think is very powerful, and you've probably heard of this, and your audience has heard of it. They may not recognize it when I say this, but it's called reticular activation, right? And reticular activation is the old concept that you buy a red Mustang, and now as you're driving around, you notice everybody has a red Mustang, right? That's called reticular activation, and essentially what ends up happening is your subconscious mind has brought something now to the forefront. And so a daily focus, as an example, is a way to bring something
Brad,
forward. And if it brings consciousness, then you're more apt to recognize it, right? And that's exactly what it ends up happening. So I would say, 3 to 4 times a day, depending upon the type of day that I'm having, I catch myself very quickly. Oh, no, that's a saboteur. That's not true.
I love
right? And it allows me to shift very quickly into, okay, so how am I going to address that? What action steps can I take to make that happen? Or, how can I, we say, play with the saboteur or the judge, who is kind of the mastermind behind those. And how can I empower my sage?
Yeah, I absolutely love this because here you are, very successful, building your third business, and you still struggle with well, let me not say struggle, because it sounds like you have mastered being able to go between, being able to identify the saboteur, but you still have these negative thoughts that will pop up to try to hinder you. So it doesn't matter if we hit our goals. It doesn't matter how successful we are. There's still some part of us that has a negative thinking that tries to hinder us from going to the next level. And I love that you have a way to manage this so that now you can bring to the forefront the sage that will actually empower you to get going. So how can viewers who are watching now, how can they work with you with Positive Intelligence?
Well, in fact, I run Positive Intelligence, and we call them pods, pretty regularly. And there's a couple of ways. So I have one starting this coming Thursday, and I have one starting next Tuesday. And I think, let me see, Thursdays, they're going to be at noon. And on Tuesdays, they are going to be, I've got to look at what I said there. They're going to be at 2 options: Thursday at noon, starting this Thursday, and 9 a.m. on Tuesday, starting October 29th. And here's the good news. Week 1 is a softball. It's getting you set up. So don't worry about it. Like, if you're like, I want to do this, but I don't know if I've got time, make the time. Those times, by the way, are Pacific Coast time. If those don't work out, and by the way, I'm offering for your audience, normally this is $14.99. It's facilitated by me, so it's not like it's somebody else in my organization or another coach. It is actually facilitated by me. So I've got a special link for your audience, and they could get on board for $500 off, so $9.99. And the wonderful thing about this and the timing of these two is you'll be done before Christmas.
Oh, love it.
And just think about having a new mindset going into goal planning season in December so that you could have your best year ever in 2025. And again, if this doesn't work for folks, they can go to our website, ideallife360.com. They can reach out to me. They can schedule, for individuals who want something that's a little more one-on-one for more maximized results, et cetera. They can set up a discovery call with me, 15 minutes call, or if it's a little deeper conversation, there's several options on there. Can get on my calendar and we can have a conversation.
I love it. I just dropped your link in the chat for everyone to access it via Instagram as well as LinkedIn and YouTube. If anybody wants to access this, again, Brad is actually offering to this audience $500 off for this 8-week program so that you can help to identify the negative thoughts and be able to manage them so that now you can infuse your mind with positive thoughts to help you get to the next level, especially if you are a business owner, entrepreneur, or a coach where constantly you're beating yourself down. You have a lot of pressure, you're procrastinating, you have perfectionism that's hindering you from actually going out and getting your clients. Like, you started your business to build generational wealth. You started your business to make an impact online, but something inside of you keeps telling you you're not good enough. Something inside of you keeps telling you you're not worthy. And Brad has this positive intelligence program to help you to overcome that. Why? Because your voice matters and you are important. And we actually need you to show up. So if you want to get access, feel free to click the link. We'll also put it inside the caption for those of you who are going to watch the replay. Now, Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, no, remember, so you inspired me, Star. So when we talked about coming on the podcast here, I created an infographic, and that's free for your audience, right? So I want to make sure they get that as well. So I created, because we had this conversation about the entrepreneurial mindset, and that kind of lit a fire for me. And I said, hey, I want to create something for Star's audience. So that make sure that they get the link for that free download, the 2-page PDF on the entrepreneurial mindset. And it really encapsulates the concepts that I went back and thought about some of the questions you asked me that said, how have you been successful? What are some of those things? And I created that. So I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to get that as well. Whether they can participate in one of the programs or not, that's my gift.
Thank you so much. Yep, I just dropped that link as well inside the chat. And then you'll also get it via the caption, just in case those of you are watching on the replay, you'll be able to get access to it. And Brad created that specifically for all of you. So I love it. Now, Brad, we only got 3 minutes left, right? Sure. But you had told me an amazing story when it came to you flying. And I do you remember the story you told me when we were doing the pre-interview? I would love for you to share that with the audience.
So my 9-year-old story.
Yeah.
So when I was 9 years old, I had the opportunity to fly with my family. My dad was in the military, and we basically moved overseas. And this was back in the early 1970s. When the Pan Am was the airline to be on. They're super glamorous. Everybody dressed up to fly, and I got to fly on a 747 from JFK over to London Heathrow. And I was absolutely bitten by the aviation bug at that particular point in time. And I made the decision that I was going to be a pilot. I was going to fly the 747. I was going to fly for Pan Am. That's what I was going to do. However, I wear glasses, and I don't need them for a lot now with the advent of LASIK and all sorts of things. But I wear glasses. And so, unfortunately, in those days, if you were going to be a professional pilot, because it was post-Vietnam era, lots of combat pilots, Navy, Army helicopter pilots, etc., your chances of flying for a major airline in those days was very, very slim. So I decided to take another path, right? And although I did learn to fly as a teenager, I realized I was never really going to fly professionally. Yeah. And so one of the ways that, and I learned to fly through this organization called Civil Air Patrol. When one of my children got involved in Civil Air Patrol, it renewed my passion for flying. I got involved in flying, and it really made me think about and reflect upon how was it that I got to this particular stage. And it was by the generosity of somebody who taught me to fly for nothing, right? I had to pay for the plane, and I had to wash and wax the airplane and work to scrape the money together to do that, but I didn't have to pay for his time. And he taught me to fly. So I do the same now with Civil Air Patrol. I'm an instructor. But after building this business, an opportunity came up, and the opportunity was for me to go fly professionally. And I spent a lot of time helping people attain their goals, turn those dreams into reality.
Mhm.
And I just really felt that to be aligned with what I do, I had to take that opportunity. I had to sell that business, build a new one, and really chase that dream. And that's what I'm doing right now.
I love it. And I love that it comes full circle for you. There are a lot of us on here who are listening who have had childhood dreams and we gave up on it because we thought it will never happen. And here you are living out your childhood dream right now. You had to go through a different journey, which is totally fine. But look how many people you have impacted, how many people you have helped, and you still get to live out your childhood dreams. It wasn't a sacrifice. And I want everyone to understand that there's still some desires inside of us that we may not have seen come to pass yet, but it's not too late. Like right now, you're on a journey where you're building your business, you're on a journey where you're scaling your business, and then there comes back around a door that opens for you to fulfill that lifelong dream. So thank you so much, Brad, for sharing with us. Did you have any final words before we go ahead and wrap up?
No, it's been a pleasure to be with you today, and I wish the best for all. I will share with you that I'm a big believer in longevity as well. And that goes to the fact that never give up on your dreams. I always tell people you're going to live a lot longer than you think you are. And as a result, you really need to chase your passions and follow your dreams and make those a reality. And if you need some help with that, there are plenty of folks out there that can help you with that, including me.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Brad, for joining us. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow for another episode of Wisdom to Wealth.